And this is a weird matchup simply because you have the contender who was on a run, who's been on multiple runs, who were really just talking about a title contender who's all of a sudden fallen from grace. And now it seems like RDA is the favorite in this matchup. AJ, what are your thoughts on this?
Derek, this is such a close fight. The numbers have been back and forth, and seeing RDA just jump around to me tells me he can still do it, tells me he's feeling well, but it does give me a little bit of hesitation not knowing where his home is and if he's really able to compete in this 170-pound class. We see a lot of fighters drop into lower ones and lower ones, so that way they have that edge. Very seldomly are they able to jump up a division and actually dominate. Do you see a problem in this switching around, Derek, or not at all?
I don't see a problem. What I see is the natural progression of age, right? As you get older, it gets a little bit harder to cut the weight. You might want to just fight where you feel a little bit better. Here's the thing, man. While RDA did not have a glamorous run at 170, he fought the who's who of the 170-pound division. Robbie Lawler, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman. Like, we're talking crazy names right here. I think he got the win against Kevin Lee at 170, right? I might be mistaken there. Kevin Lee and Leon Edwards. I believe that was like the end of the 170 reign. Came back up to 155, and then we came back against Brian Barberena. So, of the wins, not the greatest wins, I guess you could say, but these are the best people, pretty much, right? Vicente Luque, on the other hand, he's also had a pretty much of a killer's row, but it's not the same thing. I think we can say RDA is arguably, as it stands right now, one of the most time-tested veterans in the UFC. Is that correct?
100%, Derek.
So if he is the most time tested, then he arguably may try to take an approach that is a little akin to Corey Sandhagen's last week performance, where he says, path of least resistance. What is that against Vicente Luque, AJ?
Whew, that's an interesting one, Derek. I would think the ground game. Vicente Luque is also talented on the ground, though, so that's the thing. Path of least resistance for RDA. Avoid the leg kicks. Avoid the pressure that he's going to put on you and really bully Vicente Luque into that, because he is going to try to take away your main weapons. What do you see, Derek?
I see path of least resistance for RDA. Take the Bilal Muhammad approach against Vicente Luque. Stay high motor for all of these, 5 rounds, which RDA, we know, I mean, literally a vast majority of his last 10 are all 4 or 5 rounders, right? So stay on the gas pedal for 5 rounds, strike, clinch, take down, get up, strike, clinch, take down, and just try to do that. Now, I'm saying that like on paper, that's the easiest path of least resistance or whatever. Vicente Luque, though, man, listen, this dude is huge, right? 5'11", 76-inch reach. He's going to put the pressure on. He's going to try to strike with RDA. My concern, RDA is a southpaw. Vicente Luque just fought a southpaw. He got ate up by the left hand. Did he spend the camp in your thought process? Does he spend the camp saying, I have to avoid the left hand, or does he say business as usual?
I think he says business as usual, Derek. If you're going into that Jeff Neal fight, especially with Vicente Luque, he didn't seem like he was performing at that level because he was eating a left hand all day long, and that's really kind of changed that mentality. So yes, I'm sure the left hand, the power hand, and all the things that RDA is going to be able to put into implementation are actually going to be on the forefront of Vicente Luque's mind. But when you're in there, I think he's going to revert back to the normal style of Luque, man. Dipping in, going in, putting that pressure. Like I said, leg kick heavy. I expect this to be a washing machine fight, a bunch of leg kicks, a bunch of bruises up and down for both of these guys. But it's going to be just a brawl, because I don't really see – this is one of those fights, Derek, and then tell me if you see something different. But I see a firefight versus a firefighter right here. This is just going to be up and down wherever the fight goes. Both men will be comfortable in that chaos, and it's just going to be those split-second moments of who gets the advantage. In that aspect, I still have it a coin toss. Do you see one or the other more favored in a firefight?
I think that's a very fair assessment through and through. And if I like one more than the other in a firefight, it's crazy to say, man. It's RDA here. In a weird way, it's RDA. And the only reason why is because we've seen the demoralization of Vicente Luque when he just cannot get going. RDA, if he can just hold you there, he's going to do that. Only problem that I see in that logic, the hold in the logic, is you can't just hold people anymore. You got to do something with it, or else that doesn't really count. So that's why I think that Vicente Luque at a plus 100 underdog here, at least at open. Let me actually check what the live odds are. Live odds plus 105, minus 125 for RDA. So at this steal of a price right here, I think you can get a lot of bang for your buck betting on Vicente Luque, given that I think that he will land the more damaging shots on the feet. And I have the thought process that he stuffs a lot of these takedowns from RDA. And I think that someone's going to get tired. We'll see who it is. I imagine it'd probably be Luque first, but if he could stuff the takedowns, we can have some success. Is there anything we're missing in this matchup that we haven't covered?
Ooh, this matchup for missing things, Derek, is hard because both of these guys know everything, have seen everything, have fought multiple people that are somewhat akin to the kind of fighter they're going to be faced against. So, I mean, X's and O's, I think really it comes down to who's going to want it more and who's going to be the bigger dog in there. And to that same point, it's still a coin flip. So, folks, if you are going to be betting on Vicente Luque on this one, make sure you get ahead of that curve. Like Derek said, plus 105, because these numbers are going to be flipping and flopping. When I went and looked on Monday at the prop bets or at just the money line and everything, it was even. I think even RDA was the underdog, but there's going to be so much movement back and forth. Don't discount Vicente Luque because of his last performance, and don't bet too heavy on RDA. This one is going to be a very, very close fight.
And this is the part that all of the paper stuff doesn't really bring to fruition, but you have to think about this too. Time tested, RDA is burned, engraved into our minds as being a legend already. Vicente Luque, one of the most dangerous finishers out there against the highest level of opposition. RDA's 38 years old, bro, you know, and like we just had, forgive me, we had somebody drop a comment here on the channel, and forgive me because I do not remember your name, but shout out, you know who you are, and all he was talking about was statistics about how fighters who are over 40, which is not applicable in this case, who are over 40, statistically have an incredibly high likelihood of losing their fight against the younger opposition. I think that we need to extend that logic here and talk a little bit further, and I mean, we're done here, but talk, you know, bring that into the conversation. Listen, man, 38 years old, at some point, Father Time does come back and say, nah, buddy, it's not going to work the same way. Any thoughts before we close this out?
38 years old. I know he has a knee injury. We've seen him have to recover from that knee injury. I think there's a shoulder or something else there too. So the body has been worn down a lot. But like I opened up the show with Derek in the intro, I feel like RDA is one of those few fighters who's going to be able to last a long time because of his skill set. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, age does deteriorate, but the skill set usually stays pretty sharp until, you know, the brain goes. I think it's not too much to dig into, but that does not mean it's the same thing for the rest of the fighters on this card.
Fair play. Give me Vicente Luque and give me a decision victory, bro. I want to go with the finish so bad right here. I want to go with the TKO plus 200, but something is telling me that it's going to be a hard-fought decision victory. Might be closer than we think. What do you think?
No, I can agree with you, Derek, especially because I do think this is going to be an extremely hard-fought victory. I'm actually going RDA, and I'm also taking the decision.
RDA decision. Fair. On both sides, folks. Whoever you're tailing, bet carefully, bet wisely. You know what time it is. All right, folks.